giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We're streaming live on YouTube. It is Akoye Wednesdays, and of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! It's that time. The page has been fully turned to Week 5. Cowboys, 49ers, taking a look at this offense versus that defense, and why we believe the plan will be drastically different from years past. Who's we, Sky? Who? Your boy Akoye Media will be joining the show here at the top of the hour. We're going to be talking about this Cowboys offense, what we've seen on film from the 49ers defense, and we're digging deep, man. We've got some film from this year. We've got some notes from years past, and you should be excited. You should be excited. I know this might seem like one of those situations where, oh no, Cowboys last 2 games can get. You're right. But I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care about what happened in the past, because there are different things the Cowboys are doing offensively that should be able to move the ball against this team. And that was the problem in years past. You really couldn't move it against them. But that's for later. We'll get to that. Make sure y'all stick around for all things on Akoye Wednesday when we break down this film. Shouts out to you, Bomb Squad.
Bomb Squad!
We will hear from Brian Schottenheimer a few times later today as well. And I've got a little thought about Brian Schottenheimer. I think this is a game where Shotty can show where his imprint is on this offense. I do think the way the season has started, the Cowboys haven't had to really show a whole lot. I saw a stat where Dallas has only thrown the ball, or Dak at least, has only thrown the ball 11 times in the fourth quarter this season. 11 times, not counting the Cardinals game, I should say. So in 3 games in those blowouts, you're not really doing much of anything. That ain't going to be the case in this one. This one here, I think you're going to be able to throw everything out, throw the kitchen sink, per se, as they say, and we'll be able to talk a little bit about that. So let's get right into this roundup, because right out of it, we're going to talk to Akoye about this matchup. And we're going to be here for a while, I'm pretty sure. This is a big one. This is a big one, Cowboys Nation. So let's do it.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Let me talk to you.
Before we get into the goods, Cowboys got active yesterday. Obviously, with the decision to move on from Devin Harper, there was a bit of a void at the linebacker position. So the Cowboys went out and filled that void. They signed linebacker Michael Jones, rookie undrafted free agent out of Syracuse. He was signed in, was it May or what have you, to the Chargers. And he was on their roster until cut down. And he got cut, and he's been on the street for a bit. The Cowboys worked out 3 linebackers, and they walked away with Michael Jones as a guy, 6 foot, 226 pounds. He's now the 4th total linebacker on the team. Again, he's from Syracuse. 2021, he was first team All ACC. 2022, third team All ACC. We'll see how he fits right now. This is just having an extra linebacker body on the team. And if they need to get to that point, that means a lot of bad things have happened with your starters. But the Cowboys needed to fill that void. You can't just roll through an entire season, in my opinion, with literally 3 off-ball linebackers on an entire squad. Can't do it. So the Cowboys got that void. I think Malik Jefferson will get called up again. Eventually, Malik Jefferson is going to run out of call-ups, and I wonder if they'll sign him to the active roster. But because this is such a week-to-week league, you just don't know what's going to happen. If somebody gets hurt, he'll get called up. If not, I think he'll just stay down there on the practice squad moving forward. Not just another game. We had this conversation yesterday, and you can feel that and sense that throughout this organization, especially from the players. And McCarthy even spoke on it. He said, quote, "It's an important game. You understand the history. There's obviously a lot of tradition with this game, and there's a part of it you live to play in these kind of games. You dream about it. You don't want to make it bigger than it is, but the reality is it's not just another game. The important thing for us is to learn from week 4 and take things we can improve on. Watching the 49ers tape and getting into it, they're playing well. I'm impressed from what I've seen. We're just keeping our eye on the target." Jonathan Hankins, he spoke with, I think it was Jess Navarez. Shouts out to Jess. He said, "This isn't just a regular season game. It kind of determines who's going to come out the conference and potentially get to the Super Bowl. That's how I feel." Michael Gallup, he was on the Cowboy Hour with Brad Sham and Christy Scales, and Brad asked him about the mentality going into the game, and this is what Mike had to say.
But it's a line of conversation. Why do you need it? It's week 5.
Personally, we need it for us. We need it for us. We've been losing the 49ers for a while now. Like, we just need it for us. Like, that's just – we got to get it out the way because we know we're going to see him down the road again regardless. But, we need this win for us.
So if you don't get it, do you think that damages your confidence for the rest of the season?
I wouldn't say for the rest of the season, but it's still just like, I mean, we done lost to them too many times. Like, when we need to win. And that's all I can really say about that. Like, we just need this win to keep it going, like, regardless.
So it's not just another game.
It's not. It's definitely not.
Yeah, there's no denying it. I don't think there's no sugarcoating it, nor do I think they should be hiding the fact that this is not just another game. This is a team that has been responsible for knocking you out the playoffs for the last 2 times, and you need to carry that anger and obviously control it, carry that frustration, carry that being pissed off, control it, use it as fuel to drive you to get over this hump. And let's go ahead and bring in my brother from another Akoye Media to go ahead and talk about this, man. What's good, Akoye?
What's up, Scott? How you, man?
I'm good, man, and I'm focused. I'm focused.
Yes, sir.
Man. This is the one, and it's been tough.
Yeah,
because
you was burning the midnight oils last night too. I was like, yo, only person I can send film content and suggestions to at like 12 o'clock, and he would responded in like three seconds flat. It always a little 3 dots on the phone right there. He ready to go.
Ready to go, fam.
Always woke looking at a computer like me, man.
I tell you what, anytime it come to film, you're one of the first people I reach out to see if you're seeing what I'm seeing. We were going through our notes.
You've been on fire this season. I'm like, yo, every time you say something, I'm like, yo, I'm starting to just like, look, man, I'm just gonna look for that because Sky be on point. Like, you be on point.
When we were going through our notes yesterday, I'm saying like, okay, we seen the same things. I'm not because sometimes I have to.
I know you see. I seen in bold letters like play action.
Play action.
He got it.
Because I gotta remember to emphasize that whenever I do, talk about said thing on my note like that. That is one of the things, and we'll get into that in a second.
Can you hear that?
Hear what?
They're doing construction next door.
Nah, you good, bro.
All right, I was making sure you good. I can hear it loud and clear. Like, goddamn.
Yeah, you good. By the way, Cowboys Nation, audio good, both ends. Number 1, number 2. I'm here to tell you right now, if this thing cut out at any given moment, we don't care. We're coming back.
Right, we coming right back.
We're coming right back. It's Cowboys Niners. This is too important of a week to just cut the stream. So we're going to try to get through this film. If it doesn't work, we'll come back and we'll just talk about the game in general. But we think we should be fine. We will see. But Akoye, before we get into the nuances of this game, the X's and O's of this game, I just think in general, this is a different team. This is a different squad going into Santa Clara on Sunday night than you saw last year going into Santa Clara in a divisional round, bro.
I think, and it was natural because I think we knew we had to be different. When you look at the way Mike McCarthy handled the offseason with Kellen Moore, I think he understands, like, one, your job is on the line, but more importantly, your job is on the line based off of the way we approach those games. And when you look at our scheme this year, I just said this on Twitter last night in the middle of the night after I hit you. It's like, You remember last season and the season before, nobody ever said that we had a problem in the red zone because we didn't. We were number one scoring offense. We were putting up points like crazy and so on, right?
Yep.
But we could not slow a game down and play, a long, methodical style of football where we control the ball. And that was stressing out our team. If you look at the Chargers, they're dealing with the same thing right now. The 49ers are built to beat the new age offense, the spread passing offense. They're built to do it. And I think the way we approach this season, the way Mike McCarthy approached this season, if you even look at our playbook, the Schottenheimer involvement as well, you're going to get into that. But when you look at everything, it's like we're built now. We're building ourselves now, or putting ourselves together to be able to address that. And that specifically because the 49ers have been the thorn in our side. It hasn't been getting to the playoffs lately. It's been slowing it down, playing physical, and being creative enough to sustain drives against a team that's designed to take everything you like to do downfield away. Now we're the opposite. You know what I mean? Last year we were scoring offense. Now they're like, oh, the Cowboys can't score. But we've had 16 drives that are 10 plays or more, man. We lead the league in it. And then when you look at collective points, we lead the league in collective overall points scored as well. But people going to give that credit to the defense all of a sudden. But either way, I don't see nobody doing that with no other team. I've never seen anybody say, hey, Mika Fitzpatrick is the reason that the Steelers have an extra 7 points this week, or whoever. You never see anybody do that. We're the only ones who they do that to, right? When you put 40 up, you put 40 up.
I've never seen. I said this the other day. Fandom is so different now, man, because everybody has a voice because of social media. So people can just say crazy things that, like, you weren't thinking about this just 5 years ago. This is strange. Now we're talking about percentage of points for a particular player on a team that's averaging the most points. Wildness to me. Did you win? Did you lose? Right? Like, and did you contribute to that dub? So it's a different story nowadays, but it is what it is. I don't care how it gets done. We talk about this, and I'll continue to hammer it home, especially against this team. Just get it done, right? Just get it done. We've been, for 15, 20 years, we've been high flying, scoring, and all that stuff. That doesn't matter anymore. That doesn't matter anymore. Last year, the complaint was, we're high flying and scoring, but we're turning the ball over too much. We don't know how to play situational football. We just need you to just check the ball down and don't turn the ball over. What happens this year?
Now he's doing
to do that, and now people
are can't score. He's a bum.
It is just like, hey, man, look, we're in week 4. We went through 4 weeks. This is a new offense. Let's just be completely honest, right? This is a new offense, and there's circumstances in this, in this start of the season that are just in a good way weird, right? You haven't had to really go deep into your playbook in 3 of these wins. The game was over, Akoye, at halftime.
Even beyond having to go into the playbook, though, people ignore, like, I would be more, I guess, concerned if Dak was showing that he couldn't hit the side of a barn in the red zone, right? He put the ball on Shoemaker between 2 guys. He dropped it. That ain't got nothing to do with him. That's the second touchdown he dropped this season. Hendershot done dropped 1 or 2 this season in the red zone.
And he dropped one.
Berge dropped 1 in the red zone.
Yep.
Then he had like 3 against Arizona where Cooks, CD, and Gallup all had opportunities that I think were good looks. So it's not like he's not, making the right decisions most of the time. It's just that the ball just hasn't dropped that way. But I don't care because we're winning. So if I saw that he wasn't able to take advantage of those opportunities, or he wasn't even recognizing guys that are open, then it's a different story. But that's not the case. So most of the red zone conversation to me is just something for the media to have something to say. They just need something to talk about. There's no way that you can tell me that Dak is like he just forgot how to score all of a sudden. He didn't.
Well, it's silly. Why are we talking about this one? Look, there's no mistake about it. There is an issue. Right. There is an issue down there, and they have a lot of time to figure that out. Now they need to figure it out this week because we want to get down there and score touchdowns. Again, if you look at statistically, though, the Niners defense, not the greatest in the red zone. They're 23rd in the red zone. Teams are scoring on them more than they're not when you get down there. And we'll take a look at some plays where you have some success down there. The Cowboys just got to tap into it. Execution, right? I think there's an identity crisis a bit down there, but I fully believe that will get situated because if you look at everything else with this offense leading down to the red zone, it is operating at a high level. And I think a lot of that has to do with the combination of having Shoddy and Mike McCarthy running things now. And I think Schottenheimer's importance in this game, importance on his team, might be highlighted in this game. I think this could be one of those situations. And I know a lot of it, people will say, "Oh, it can be with his familiarity with the Niners." Sure, and Schottenheimer talked about that.
I feel like I know them really well. I know how talented they are from being in the division with them in Seattle. They're just a really, really disciplined group. It is a good benefit for us. If you look at 2 weeks ago, right, we played the Jets, with Robert Saleh, very similar scheme, just that 4-3 penetrating defensive front. But each week is different. And then, of course, when you throw injuries into it, like Arizona, they did adjust some based on a couple of our linemen were out, so they adjusted things, covered the core and things like that. But that's the cool part, of the chess match of what we get to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with him in regards to the chess match. And I think it'll be just that. I don't think it was much of a chess match over the last 2 years going into this game. I think the offense that the Cowboys ran, like you said, played right into the hands of the 49ers defense. And I don't know if he said it in there, but right before that clip, he talked about how they're going to be who they are. And you even went back and looked at one of the games from 2022. They are who they are. They're not really changing much up of anything. It's up to you to be able to adapt to that. And there was questions, Akoye, going into the season with Schottenheimer and McCarthy. Like, what is his role? How will this work out? What is the connection like? And I think for a game like this, you will see it. You'll see Mike McCarthy's old school West Coast principles that every team that runs the West Coast still use. But then I think you'll also see it be aided with Schottenheimer's ability to have a mix of concepts that we just weren't running before. Those shallow crosses, the drives, the deep combos off of play action. We weren't really running. We ran a lot of we ran a lot of play action, deep hitches, play action, deep comebacks and curls and things like that.
Right.
But I think in this game, or in general, really, if you go back and look at some tape, and we'll look at one play, you'll see some of that play action with some deep combos against this defense because I think it's there. And he talks about, facing a vision defense. This is another vision defense, right? Where they're going to drop back some guys, try to get the 4 home and take advantage of having a lot of guys in coverage. Well, they do that, but they also like to try to disguise that back end with was it Hufunga? And I forget the other kid's name. He's not a kid, but the other guy's name. But they kind of try to disguise what they're going to do back there. But Shoddy versus the Niners in general, there's been a lot of success. He's had 3 seasons under Seattle where he was a head coach or the offensive coordinator, and Russell Wilson played some good ball against them. 13 touchdowns, 1 interception, 68% completion, and they were able to win 3 out of those 5 matchups. I think it was one year in 2019. He didn't play 2 games, or 2020. But he is familiar with this team. He knows how to beat this defense. And I think having him in Dak's ear in this game as opposed to the previous regime, I think you'll see a lot more success individually from Dak that we hope obviously rolls over to a team success.
I agree. And when you look at, I went back and I looked at that the last season with Schottenheimer with Russell Wilson, and they put up 30. I think they put up 26 once, 28, and then I put up 30 against them in that year in 2021. I think one was a playoff game. I'm not sure. I know one was in January. I know that, but I'm just not sure which whether it was a postseason game or not. But I know they collectively scored on average 28 points against this defense. Now it's not the same exact defense. Obviously, they have personnel changes. Hargrove is here. Hufunga, I think, is coming into his own now. He's starting to really play a lot better than he was in 2021. But at the end of the day, you still see, as he said, they don't change very much. It's a similar 4-3 attacking scheme to what we just saw against the Jets. And no, they don't have the same lack of firepower on offense like the Jets do. But if you just look at the one game where the defense didn't hand us a 14-point lead, where the offense was able to actually put up an honest 30 points, and that's 30 points while, like you say, we're struggling in the red zone. So against a similar style defense, like Salah comes from the 49ers, and they run the same exact scheme. And it's like you said, very patient. They rely a lot on their vision, dropping back into those zones. But just like the last game we just broke down against New England, they give up a lot of space underneath to those
Yeah.
running backs. And Schottenheimer has a history for loving, as you know, to throw to those running backs. So I think they'll have a big game in the backfield. Rico, I don't know if we'll get Deuce involved, but they seem to struggle against screen passes as well because of their ability to get back, fast. Because you'll see Fred Warner or Greenlaw mugging the line of scrimmage, and then post snap they're flying 15 yards off the ball. Because of that, you can't run in no matter how fast your defense is, you can't go in two directions, at the same time. So
Right.
it leaves all this space for your running backs underneath to work on those block and releases and those those types of arrow routes, stuff like that. That stuff is all wide open. Screen passes,
Yeah.
wide open.
I mean, great segue, because Schottenheimer was asked about the vision defense, and he harkened back to a play that happened in the Patriots game that we might see a combination of it. I got a couple plays I want to show y'all that I hope we utilize this. But he harkened back to a play against the Patriots that exactly what you said. Hey, the deep route's not there. Check it down, and that's all. That's what this offense is, man. Like the feet is tied. I'm sorry, the timing is tied to the feet, and the feet is tied to the brain. So we're not having to hold the ball for 15 seconds. If it's not there deep, we still can get 6 to 8 yards on the check down. And now let's try to run it. So here's Schottenheimer talking about that vision defense.
He's seeing it well. Again, it's not just him. Again, we talked a little bit last week about the spacing and the landmarks and getting pieces to where they're supposed to be, whether it's inside edge of the numbers or in between the hashes or outside the numbers, all those landmarks. That's what comes into play. But taking what they give you, throwing the ball underneath. I mean, basically they were playing a version of that vision defense on the third down conversion that I was talking about with Fergie, taking the first open receiver, throwing the completion, letting it work. But, you watched that game yesterday, and there was a little play pass we ran late in the first quarter, and they all punched out, right? They got deep, and they were trying to take away Brandon Cooks and CD. We were running a little two-man combination with those two guys, and he checked it down, to Rico. Rico splits two defenders, gets a couple extra yards. First play of the game, same type thing. Play action pass, the linebackers punch out. They get their depth. Got vision on Dak. What's he do? Okay, he says, hey, they're taking away. Let me check it down. Tony does the same type thing. So that's when I think you see a quarterback who's bought into the fact of, hey, go through my progression, know where the backs are.
I think that's so huge, Akoye, because if you remember last year, bro, and probably the year before too, but
no checkdowns.
No checkdowns. It was eliminated in his offense for whatever reason.
And if you don't practice it, even if you throw them in there, you could say, like Kellen said, I put them in the scheme, but you're not basing the emphasis on it.
There you go. It's not an emphasis on it. And I think in the same presser, Shotty talked about how they have a check down day where they practice on different angles of the check down, and how now I love listening to Shotty,
the running back might be moved off the mark.
Yes.
Different things might have happened based on his release, things like that. So,
he said, hey, we might expect him to go through the A gap and leak out, but because of the way the defense slants or what have you, now he's going through the C gap and having to leak out, so your angle's different, your timing's different. And I think they've been fantastic with it this year, more than any year that I've ever seen. And there was times in the Niners game when you go watch the film last year, we're like, damn, check it down to Zeke out here.
But they standing still on the sideline already. Like once your check down has already stopped his feet on the sideline, then that's late. You throwing that ball late to the flats. And that's where early in Dak's career, a lot of his pick sixes, like I know you guys remember the one to Zeke in Seattle, in that Seattle game. But a lot of his pick sixes would come off that. He would look downfield, read downfield, and get to the check down late.
Yeah, because that was the design of the offense, right? That Eric Coryell offense is we're reading deep and we want deep, so we're waiting deep. Then we'll come down to the middle and then eventually the check down. But by the time you get to the check down, there's pressure and you're trying to force it elsewhere else. But this is, as we call it, touchdown or check down type of situation. And I know the worry coming up with Brandon Cooks, right? Brandon Cooks, this could be a game where he'll be important to me, Akoye, whether it be physically or whether it be conceptually. But the film we were watching, you have to stretch this 49ers defense out. Like that concept we just saw against the Patriots where you sent the two deep routes, the two deep overs, or kind of a bit of a dagger type of situation. And we'll get to some dagger concepts. You have to do that because if you don't, what will happen? They will do exactly what they did last year, specifically on that last drive. I know we about to run a bunch of curls, you about to run a hitch, and I'm gonna jump it. So I think they have to stretch this Niners defense out to create green. And we talk about those shallow crossers and those drives and things like that. That's there against this Niners defense, but it's only there if you create that green to throw to the space and allow your wide receiver to run. Look, Fred is fantastic, but any linebacker that has to run on drag routes and try to chase to space, that's tough. You know what I mean? As long as you put the ball on the money, that's going to be a completion and possibly some yards after the catch. So there's opportunities to take advantage of this 49ers stout defense, but you have to do it conceptually. I never thought we did that in years past.
Never have. We thought we were going to come out and just out athlete them or just have the better talent. That's the way Kellen Moore's scheme was designed. It's like everybody's running ISOs. You know, you got to beat your guy one-on-one. We're not doing any rub routes. We're not creating any concepts to keep getting guys open on a regular basis, you know, packages for certain guys. There was a lot of option routes where everybody has to, be in line with what they need to do in every situation, which is why guys like Tolbert couldn't get on the field because of all the option routes that were being run. So I think the simple form of this offense is a lot better, in my opinion, because even when Dak doesn't have to think, what I would say last year was, in the years prior, Dak showed that he can, lead this team. He showed that he can make big plays. I don't need you trying to win games, though. I don't need you trying to make the plays all game.
All game,
when we need it. So I said I said this last year. I said if we ran the same style offense we ran for Cooper Rush last year when Dak was out, when Dak came back, we would have been a lot better off because it was a simplified form. And then take your shots if you're down. Take your shots if you need to, or take your shots when you just feel like being aggressive, every now and then. But I think once Dak came back, Kellen just, he got his toy back, so he just started going crazy again with it. And we threw interceptions because of it, and also we struggled in the playoffs because of it. Because teams know what he was trying to do. It's like you just have to be able to play your one-on-one spots and beat the guy in front of you to beat this offense. It wasn't, hey, you got to beat that guy, but you also got to beat my scheme too. And a lot of coordinators, the good coordinators, know how to do that. Get their guys in position. Like you got a guy like Debo, you're gonna figure out ways to get him the ball in space. You're not just gonna say, "Hey, can't nobody cover Debo." Like they don't think like that. That's how Kellen was set up, though. And I think we'll see a difference. I don't want to get too high or too low, but we'll see a difference this week. I look at this game as like a good test for everybody, both the offense and defense, just to see. On both sides of the ball, too. They make it seem like it's just a test for the Cowboys, as if the Niners have been playing rock star teams or something. You know what I mean? It's a test for both these teams and also for both these quarterbacks to see what Brock Purdy really is versus a real defense and an offense that actually can move the ball and keep you off the field. So efficiency and discipline is going to be at an all-time high on both sides of the ball this game.
Yeah, I mean, the best offense schematically and quarterback combination they've played was the Rams, and the Rams took them to the brink. I think overtime, if I'm not mistaken, or close to it, something like that.
It was 23-30.
23-30, and they were up in that game. If we get to our notes here, we get to this film. The Rams, in fact, the Rams and the Cardinals, they both put together 3 straight scoring drives against this 49ers defense. That's no easy task. That's no easy task. That's happened to Dallas once this year, but against against the Rams, they opened up the game, scoring 3 straight times, and then the Niners closed out the second half and opened the second half. Closed out the first half, opened the second half with 3 straight consecutive scores, and that the Cardinals had a close game in that game too until they pulled away at the end of 49ers. So there's things on film, Akoye, that we saw, and let's get into it and let the Bomb Squad know what you saw here.
Let's do it, man.
Your breakdown.
Yep, let's do it. Well, first thing that'll stand out to you guys is like their linebacker play. I think you said it offline. I don't know if he was online when you said it, but these guys are a top in the league, man. You think that Fred Warner is the number 1 linebacker in the game, and I can't argue with you at all when I look at this film. The angles that they take, the pursuit angles they take, both him and Greenlaw, they work very well together. Reminds me of the film work I did watching Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly back a couple years ago, but they work very well together, and they know what each other is doing without having to talk. So that shows that they communicate both on and off the field regularly because they play in unison. And that's not just versus the run. Like there's not that many units that can play forwards and backwards the way these guys can. When you look at Fred Warner here, he's carrying that seam route, but he knows the crosser is coming. So soon as he crosses this hash, soon as that wide receiver crosses that hash, he's going to stop and look for this crossing route. And his back is turned to it right now, but he knows it's there. That's high IQ
Yeah.
and range right there. So he's covering essentially two people, and then he stops. See, and that crosser wasn't supposed to stop there. He just stopped because he found that window. But Fred and Greenlaw both on it, like they're on it. Their closing speed is crazy. Someone else on that play, like that's a big play when you stop that crosser and you got a linebacker just waiting for it. Now, if there's a way that you want to attack these guys because of their range and their ability to get to depth fast, you can get those linemen out underneath them and throw a lot of these little screen passes. I saw that when the Rams and the Raiders and certain teams move the ball well against the 49ers, is usually throwing or running a West Coast style offense, throwing things underneath. When you want to, take it to the ground game, though, running at Fred is better than running away. A lot like Micah Parsons, you want to run at him. You don't want to run away from him, because when you try to get out away from him, he just has, like I said, great pursuit. He gets guys quick and he closes. Both him and Greenlaw are pretty hard to deal with. But the success that I saw was running on those edges, just like us. You run on those edges, you got some daylight. I think Turpin, they'll have a package for Turpin and CD in this game where they should have some success, or maybe first downs are bigger, depending on how we set it up. Because those edges, those off tackles, those stretch plays, they work. Against the 49ers because you have them. Go ahead.
The jet sweeps too. The jet sweeps worked
sure.
against them, and we just saw Turpin get hit a big one last week. I think we should bring that back this week.
Oh yeah, for sure. But once you get a hat on those guys, it's like that's your best bet. Try to get a hat on them and then hope that either TP and Rico. Rico's hurt right now. His hips hurt, right? But those guys can put their foot in the ground and go for it. But you can see here's another example. You're running at Fred rather than running away from him. He still might get a hand on you, but you got a better shot getting by him because he can't out angle your blocking when you run at him. When you run away from him, he's going to beat that guard or tackle or center to the spot every time, and a tight end can't block him. So running away from him is that's a recipe for disaster against these guys. Here, I just wanted to show you, like, this is a dagger concept. The seam route is running off this safety, right? And they're trying to, run that dig right behind it. Look at how Fred just shuts that down, like how easy he shuts that down. He made it look like it was just child's play, man. And that's why, like, getting the ball downfield just in a spread concept will not work. We have to run it from under center. We have to use the run game to set this stuff up. A lot of play actions, and you'll see how they come into play a little bit later. But again, this is the style ball you have to play against them. You need to play under center. You need to play physical, and you need to get big guys out on the edges against these guys. Otherwise, it's going to be a long day for you. But as you can see here, I pointed out a lot of the opportunities that their running backs had in the Rams game and also in the Raiders game as well. You'll see some film from Josh Jacobs. You got to catch this. When I looked at this play as like a difference maker in this game, because they were moving the ball well, and that interception right there just changed the momentum of that game for the Rams. And other than that, they were giving them everything they could handle, and it wasn't a mistake by what's his name?
Matt Stafford.
There you go, Matt Stafford. I'm horrible with names, but it wasn't a mistake by Stafford that caused that game to get out of hand. It was the running back not catching that ball. Here's a screen pass to Jacobs. Like as I said, I pointed out the Raiders game at the end of last season because this is a similar defense. They have a few new pieces like we do, but I wanted to see how the Raiders with a backup quarterback was able to put up 34 points against this team. And I said, well, maybe they weren't playing for anything, but when you watch the game, everybody's out there flying, and what works. Those screen passes definitely work. It's not a fluke. Several times you've seen those things develop underneath those linebackers, and once those linemen get out there, you have opportunity. And when you look at their secondary, like if you're just dropping back, or if we're in a situation where we're in 3rd and long and you have to drop back and actually pass the ball, how do you beat these guys on the outside? They have physical corners, led by Travaris Ward, who's a long physical guy. Pause. But when you want to beat a guy, or just like they want to beat a Trayvon, when you want to beat teams that play press man pretty well or play zone pretty well, you have to not only use some play action in the backfield to get their eyes in the backfield, like you see here. They snuck Adams out in the middle of the field on that dagger crosser because of that play action on that jet sweep. So if we can run effectively in the first half of this game, we can open some of this stuff up later in the second quarter, third quarter. You might see us take some shots. But drag routes, in-breaking routes, slant routes, they cover anything straight up the field pretty well. Anything vertical, great. But if you want to have some success, if you catch them in man and you're running anything in breaking against Travaris with quicker guys, especially if you get a matchup with Cooks on him or even Gallup who can run. They all can run, but I'm just saying the quicker guys on Travaris will give him trouble, similar to the way Diggs has trouble with those smaller, quicker receivers as well. So those worked. I looked at that. Like the one route that I saw was, like I said, you pointed it out, the drag, the dig, and so on, and then a lot of rub routes as well. They had some success in the Rams game with that. We already know about the red zone issues that we have. They cover pretty well, period. But we need to start hitting some of these as well. I just threw this one in here. This was just a great catch to me by Devontae Adams. I thought that Ward covered this well. It just, he's against a superior athlete with this one. But we got to start hitting these in the red zone. As you said, they're ranked 23rd in the league in the red zone. I'll cut that off. I wanted to point this play out because also we're great. Dak's great from out of the pocket. And when you have a team that's disciplined, a defense that's disciplined the way they are, scramble drills are actually effective. The reason they have so much trouble against running quarterbacks is because those quarterbacks can extend plays and it breaks down the integrity of your defense. As you see here, even though Statham, I don't know how to say his name either. The quarterback from Stedham, there you go, isn't a running quarterback. He ran enough in that game to make them worry about him on the edges because he kept getting first downs running the ball. So when you see when you see Dak get outside of the pocket, I saw us do it last week where they had Biadasz actually, they set it up in the 2-minute drill. Biadasz just snuck out to the flats and blocked for Dak while he was rolling out, and that was very effective. But like I said, when those plays break down, we'll have a lot of shots. When you look at Ufunga, in the way he plays on the back end of the secondary, he's a lot like Troy Polamalu, and not because he's Polynesian or any of that. It's because he's definitely an instinctive player that plays downhill. He thumps, he guesses correctly quite a bit. Very physical, smart. He can play anywhere, but when you look at him on film, when you look at the film, there is opportunity similar to Fred Warner and Greenlaw. When you run at Ufunga, you can set him up for certain things. Not only can you get some yardage running the ball when you get a hat on him, because he is in fact a safety, as you see here. Josh Jacobs got him pinned in. They got him pinned inside, and Josh was able to get out on the edge. And you see that type of daylight with a Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard can break that angle and get some yards out of stuff like that. But when you get a hat, you have to get a hat on Ufunga near the line of scrimmage. Treat him like you would treat Donovan Wilson, as a linebacker in that box, not as a safety who really can't fill. He's great at that. Go ahead.
You brought up Tony Pollard. I think we forget, man, the few drives the Cowboys had that were successful over the last two playoffs were with Tony Pollard being involved. TP only had 3 touches, I believe, and 3 carries in that first loss in 2021, but that was the touchdown drive where he received some of them. And then in the second game, we were moving the ball, dumping it off the TP, getting him some carries, and then he got hurt.
Right.
TP's available in this entire game. Him alone is a big difference, I think. And we ain't even talking about the other guys.
Nobody mentions that when they talk about Dak and those guys losing. They just say, he just lost. Nobody mentions when we lost to Arizona that we lost a lot of players that week, right? It's just lost. I mean, no need for the excuses, but those are realities. But Ufunga, I love his game. But when you want to harm this team in this secondary, you do it from under center, because they come out in different fits to stop the run when you're under center. And when you can catch them with a lot of play actions, seam routes, I think we have the tight ends to stress these guys out, as you can see here. because Ofunga will bite on the run quite a bit. You saw what Waller was able to do, and Waller's a different guy. Obviously, we don't have one on our team that's quite like him. No one does, but you can still see the concepts. Like they were getting up the seam and really stressing this defense out by getting him up the seam and actually targeting him, because that opened up things for Adams underneath this entire game. And then when you look at the touchdown that Waller got, which I'll end with in a second, but we'll get to it. When you look at that touchdown, though, you'll see why you have to run at Ufunga, because once you get him in line with those play actions, you have a lot of opportunities. You see here, even though he's coming on the backside this time, that tight end blocked and released, and then they just get him out into the flats. And this is simple stuff that you'd be like, this doesn't work against teams that are in our division as much, because they're used to seeing that type of stuff, right, against each other. But it definitely works. The little things work on the 49ers, like those block and releases, like you see here. There's another block and release off of a play action, but this was against Lenore. But it was block and release, and you see how much space these tight ends have. The tight ends killed the 49ers in this game. I mean, they were just destroying them. And it looked like, I'm like, well, what are they doing? And it's just simple play actions. Just run at them to get them activated and geared in on run, and then start throwing the ball behind them. Here, Ufunga is going to bite on run because he's reading Josh Jacobs. So our ability to establish the run early is crucial. Even if you're not getting the yardage, you need them actively.
We didn't do that last year.
Yeah, getting hats on hand. Exactly what we didn't do. If you don't run the ball against the Niners, it's almost impossible to beat them, because they're built to take away the deep ball unless you run the ball.
And let me say this, not just run the ball, but run the ball with some type of purpose, right? Like you have to have some type of run game plan here. Not what we did the last 2 years. We're trying to bring in extra linemen as fullbacks, and you got 76 who's causing basically congestion and there's confusion. No, there has to be a purpose to
it. Yeah, for sure. And run out of the same looks. You said that last week as well. Like we ran a play action off of a stretch play, a bootleg off of a stretch play but we never ran the stretch the entire game. That's the same thing. Run those play actions out of the same formations that you've been running the ball effectively out of, and it's easy to see. Like look at how much effect he has on Ufunga on this play. Once he takes that false step forward, it's over. You don't see very many big plays against the 49ers. The Raiders were manufacturing them all day. They were moving the ball up and down the field, big plays galore. And that was because of what Jacobs was doing underneath. Like their running game opened them up and running their offense from under center. And right now, we have the highest percentage of plays running from under center in the league. This is what we do. So styles definitely make fights. And you can look at our history, you can say what we were, but our style of offense is night and day different than what we were the last 2 years when we lost to these guys. So it's a game that I'm very excited for, not just because of the losses, but because of the respect. Like I respect what the 49ers can do, and this is a great test to see what our new toy and Schottenheimer and McCarthy calling plays is going to be able to draw up against a defense like this, especially after seeing what I think is a lesser team in the Las Vegas Raiders able to run up and down the field using similar concepts. So this will be a good game to watch, man. I'm excited to watch. I'm going to be in Mexico. I might be in the air actually when this game go off, but I'm gonna be watching it somehow. I'm watching it.
Hey, well, the Cowboys got a chance to get some plays through the air as well down the field, even though this is more of a methodical situation. But, you look at the Arizona game, you look at the Rams game, those two games were against schemes that do some movement, that get some play action. They want to get your eyes here and go there. But their pass game concepts deep is something I wanted to kind of point out here with these two plays. And it's interesting because you brought up dagger, right? In the concept, what I wrote down here while you were saying that, I think you got to be unique, Akoye. I don't think you could just run simple dagger, especially when Fred Warner, sees that it's coming. So let me go ahead and run this back here and take a look at a couple plays. One from this Arizona game. The other is from, I believe, the Rams game. This is Arizona coming out in a 3-by-1 formation from left to right with Hollywood Brown in on the interior. And they're going to run what's called, it's kind of a Shanahan staple too, a weak X dagger. So essentially the inside wide receiver is going to read that safety, and instead of just running up the seam, he's going to bend that into basically a deep post with the outside guy running that in route underneath. And on the backside, they've got the clear out route running a 9, I think, by Wilson. And what makes this interesting is that when you catch them in this type of formation, they run single high 76% of the time. If you can catch them in this type of formation, you can get them. And you can get them, and it's wide open right here. And again, you're not going to do this all game, but if you can catch them just a few times, this big play right here set up the Cardinals for a touchdown to help bring this game closer. And then you say, okay, maybe that's a one-off. Nope, I think the Cardinals got this play because they saw what happened against this Rams team, against the Rams team in week 2, I believe. What I loved about this one, though, again, you got to be unique with the dagger concept. Now, this is a traditional dagger here. You got the inside guy running straight up the seam with the deep dig. But watch what they do with Puka. Puka's going to crash down on his defensive end. They buy his quarterback an extra tick, and then they're going to leak Puka out. He's basically running the deep over. Man. Just genius. And he's wide open.
Because Fred, I just showed that concept where how Fred he'll be at the line of scrimmage and he's going to get underneath that deep dig, right?
Yeah.
But while he's doing that, he can't, like I said, he can't run in 2 directions at once, man. So and once he takes that away, Puka's going to be able to sneak across the line, across this defense. And we had this happen to us in that Arizona game, so we know how effective it is against cover 3.
Exactly. And the problem is, though, here that Stafford misses him. Now, I mean, this isn't a terrible decision. It's not a terrible decision because the deep dig is there.
It's crazy that he's wide open.
But look, that's a touchdown.
Yeah,
that is a touchdown.
That's exactly what happened to us right there.
And I think what happened was you saw the 49ers. I'm sorry, you saw the Arizona Cardinals take a look at that, and they ran their own concept from it. Now they didn't get it wasn't quite the same as what they did to us with Wilson.
Yeah.
Basically the same thing. Puka, I think it was not Puka, but Michael Wilson. He chipped the defensive end and then he leaked out. But they instead kept him over on the side, ran him up the seam, and they brought Hollywood Brown behind that. So there is opportunities to catch this 49ers defense in a favorable matchup if your concept is unique enough. Now, if you come out there and show that play that you showed earlier where it's just a regular ass dagger route with Fred Warner sitting on that, you're not going to get there.
They ain't getting that type of stuff off. You got to give him what he's used to and then counter that. That's how they just did that there. Like you got to give him what he's used to seeing. He's used to getting deep mid and playing sort of like a cover 2 linebacker. He gets into his drops pretty deep, and he's used to taking those in breaking routes away, posts and digs, all that, right? So feed him that just so you can counter off of it. But so you might have to throw one at one of those digs just to let him know it's real.
Yeah. But we weren't running a lot of that. I mean, I think it was Kurt who brought it up a couple years ago. We obviously know about it because we watch our team exclusively, and we a lot of stop routes. You can't run a whole lot of stop routes against this smart defense. You just can't do it. You got to keep it moving.
Pursuit to the ball is crazy. So you're not going to get anywhere with those stop routes anyway. Like they're sitting on that. You're right.
And you brought this up about the run game because it is the play action is predicated off of actually running, right? Like you don't have to run successfully for the play action to work, but you at least have to have the threat of running. Like you got to run. Now, once you run well, the play action will work probably even better because they're going to, obviously pay attention to the run. But this Niners team heading into week 4, I don't have the numbers just quite yet after that, but heading into week 4, they utilized the light box 62% of the time, which was 5th in usage rankings, which makes sense, right? Because they believe in their front 4. And that's basically how they got us in 2021 from running the rock. We didn't have a great running situation anyway, but they said, you can't beat us with our 4 guys down. I don't think that's the case this year. I think with Tyler Smith on the interior, your offensive line is about as healthy as it's going to get. Let's just be completely honest. And even Chuma, his ability to pass block might not be that great, but his ability to be strong in the run game is different.
I mean, Chuma's been playing for what we've asked him to do.
Exactly.
I like he's not like he's not Chaz Green. He's not wrecking games. No. He's doing what I like what he's doing. Now, of course, he's not Tyrant, but he's playing very well for a guy that we asked to jump.
I mean, he's still going to be mousing the house against this defense. No doubt about it.
They're going to come after him.
But I'm talking about run game wise. If Chuma leaning on you is a little different than Chuma, retreating, right? So if they're going to play this light box, and with Mike Solari being the offensive line coach now, I think you see a different aggression in the run game. And
we put our hats on people.
Putting hats on hats. Tyler Smith is going to be pulling a bit more. I said this on Vacha's show. The heavyweight matchup for me, Akoye, is Tyler Smith versus Fred Warner at that second level. because we like to get a lot of combination blocks where we're using our flipper, right, as Voch would say, and then we're getting to that second level on the linebacker. Right. And boy, that's the one right there because Tyler's trying to explode. Tyler's trying to put him 6 feet under, right?
Yeah,
and Fred is trying to make a play. So if you can get hat on the hat there, Tony Pollard, Rico, if he plays, Deuce, it doesn't matter. I think these guys are good enough to make something happen.
Well, one thing that people who don't really pay attention to football don't really pay attention to or don't look at is, the reason screen passes work, right? Because you have an overly aggressive defensive line that's flying off the ball, and now you can get the ball behind them, right? So their success in pass rush works against them. It works the same way when you got a team that's stat boosting, getting tackles for loss versus the run. So even if the run's not working, you still do it because those guys are getting stats for it. They're hyped. They're excited to get in the backfield now. And the more excited you get a defense into flying into the backfield, the easier it is to sneak play actions behind them. So it's the same mindset. It's like versus a good pass rush, you want to throw screen passes behind those guys. Versus a good run fit defense, you want them flooding those gaps and filling those gaps so that you can get your tight ends behind them, or so that they actually believe that when that, like Waller, what he did on that touchdown, he ran right at Ufunga like he was about to block him. He didn't touch him. He just ran at him like he was about to block him. Ufunga's so fast at his keys that he doesn't wait for the engagement like some of our guys do. He doesn't wait for the engagement. As soon as he sees that you're beelining for him instead of running a route, he reads run, and he ran right past Waller. That's why Waller was open. But you have to sell the run in order for him to even think that way in the first place. And Ufunga had plays in the backfield early in that game where, hey, he's excited to get back there again and do it again. You know what I mean? So when they make those bang plays in the backfield and you get like, oh, the run's not working, it doesn't matter. For your pass game to work, or bootlegs or play action or even pass protection to work effectively, you want them to believe that you still are willing to run the ball. And the only way they shouldn't believe that is if you suddenly get behind the sticks or behind in the game, 14 points or more. Other than that, you should keep them honest running the ball, regardless of the yardage.
Yeah.
And the attrition. You already know the attrition that takes place, where just because I tackled you for a loss doesn't mean that I didn't feel it on my way to doing it. Get what I'm saying? Or I didn't have to bench press a 340-pound guard like Tyler Smith to get to you.
Yeah,
doing that, make them do that 5-10 times. Can you do it 10 times?
Don't get discouraged because it's going to happen. Like Fred and Greenlaw are excellent backers. They're going to make plays at the line of scrimmage. They might even make a play behind the line of scrimmage. But don't get discouraged, man. I'm not saying be stubborn. Don't get it twisted now.
Don't be stupid.
Yeah, don't be stupid, right? Don't just say we're just going to bang our heads against the A gap and not do anything unique with it. But be deliberate with what you're doing. Dribble with a purpose so that the run game is married to the pass game and vice versa. Now, I still do believe we might come out with a similar game plan that we had against the Jets until we get a favorable matchup, which is and the Patriots too. We threw the ball early on those downs, right? It's definitely against the Patriots. We took that 6 yards. We took that slant. We had a big break, right, where they broke coverage, and we had a scramble drill, and we hit Michael Gallup. I'm still with throwing the ball early in the sense of, hey, let me make them inch up closer so we can take the deep shots, right? And then we have the run game married in between it. But the last 2 playoff losses to this team, in between the 20s, because honestly, you didn't move the ball in between the 20s enough. You didn't even get enough shots, cracks at the red zone, in my opinion. But in between the 20s, the last few years, we kind of just said the hell with running the rock, especially once Tony Pollard went down. And then for whatever reason, we just didn't give Tony Pollard the ball in the 2021 game. I don't think you can do that. I don't think you should do that. I don't think it's smart. I think you need to bake this into your offense this week. And then once you do that, you can take advantage of the outside. Because one of the things I have in my notes here, and it's very similar to the last couple of years, they are vulnerable outside the numbers at the cornerback position. They are vulnerable. Like you saw a couple plays I showed against the Arizona Cardinals. You get these guys running downfield with the purpose, not them comeback route with Michael Gallup, who's on one leg and he ain't sure of his damn self. Like, no, that shit.
You get
a comeback route, bro.
That's Cooks' route right there too. Like Cooks' outside comeback route is crazy.
But you should never have an outside comeback route that's like your third read, and then the comeback is already done, and he's just sitting there waiting.
Well, you just saw what happened to Mac 10 last week trying that shit against us. Oh, excuse
Well,
me,
yeah,
my
he
friend trying that
nice straight.
against us. So yeah, you can't throw late. You can't throw late on those stop routes, and you can't. So that's why I never understood why are you running 4 stop routes. The stop route should be front side, your first read. If it's not that, then maybe a guy ran an option and stopped and sat down in the zone on the backside. But we used to run 4 stops on a regular basis, all
I
year
can't do
long, and
that.
that's with Linehan and Kellen. They all do. They
Huh.
do it. So to me, that concept is crazy. Maybe Dak likes it. I don't know. Maybe that's why they still have it in the
I don't
playbook.
know no
But
quarterback that would like to just throw some
yeah,
5
I don't know
yards.
either. But I'm like, well, why is it? Why are we? Otherwise, I can't see why we're doing it so much. Why we were? We don't. I haven't seen it this year though. I haven't seen it
No.
this year,
Well,
which is great. I
you
was
see it.
happy.
Every team has it in their playbook, but the
Of course,
frequent rate
but
that
it's
you've
not
been
like
running
we
it,
do
yeah.
it every game,
No.
like we used to. You know what I mean? So yeah, I like what I'm seeing, man. And the other thing that came to me while you were just talking is we are the best between the 20s. Like we can move the ball between the 20s, something
Mm.
crazy. So like again, the styles that make fights is they're a team that struggles once you get in the red zone. They're a team that breaks. They break but don't bend, so to speak. I guess you want to say it that way, because when they get in the red zone defensively, they're 23rd in the league. We just so happen to be the best team at getting there. You know what I mean? And which is probably why people think we struggle down there as well, because we get there so often. You know what I'm saying? But we're one of the better teams at getting there. So I think that also plays into our hands because we want to score down there. We've based the emphasis on it. We're trying to do it. And now I think the Cowboys are in position to give us ample opportunity to do so. If you look at the Jets game, that's one of the best litmus tests for me this season is not what we did defensively to their offense, but more so what our offense was able to do against a team that may still be losing, but nobody's putting up 30 on those Jets this season either. Like the teams
Yeah.
that are beating them are still having trouble with that defense. And their defense did make some plays. Quentin made some plays. CJ Mosley made some plays against us. So they made some plays
I
against
mean,
us,
look what
but
that Jets
we were
defense did
effective at
against
moving the ball.
Allen and Mahomes.
Exactly.
I mean, no.
Mahomes got. I mean, I won't even talk about that. He got out there by the skin of his teeth. Like I think
It's just
they
interesting.
lost. They would have lost that game had it not been for a couple of bad calls, man. They lose
Bill
that game.
Belichick made things difficult for every team that he played in a way, and then the Cowboys shredded it, and it's like, oh, they suck. The Jets defense made things difficult for every team they played. Cowboys shredded it. Oh, they really suck.
It's the Jets. Yeah.
It's so we'll see here. And another place that the Niners defense struggles this year is on third down, which is a shocker because they have a ridiculous front, and they're 23rd in the league on third down. Guess who's tops?
Us.
Cowboys. That's what I'm saying. In between the 20s,
it's an amazing thing, man. I haven't seen this offense or this team. I have never seen this team look this good. And when I say team, I mean both sides of the ball and special teams. I've never seen us look this good in recent years, in the last 20 years. I haven't seen us look this good. So for everyone to be out there saying that, somehow they had to find something, but somehow we're struggling. It sounds insane because we've had 3 games, like you just said, we've thrown the ball 11 times in 3 games in the fourth quarter. We've had 3 games where Dak hadn't had to play. So even when you're looking at his 261 or you're looking at his stats, those stats are from 2 to 3 quarters in most cases, not from 4 quarters of football. That's from 2 to 3 quarters of actual, I'm trying to get up the field. The fourth quarter has been reserved for preseason style football where we put the backups in and just go for it. Cooper Rush has been on the field, I think, 3 times in 3 games in this season. That's unheard of. That's unheard of. That does not happen.
Yeah, it's weird.
Backup quarterbacks don't see the field. Maybe once or twice when your quarterback's hurt, or maybe you get a blowout here and there, like we'll get against Minnesota or Jacksonville a couple years ago.
Not 3 in the first 4 weeks, though.
That is crazy.
No,
that's crazy.
That's
what
nobody's
talking about that.
I give a damn about volume stats. There are what I call pillar statistics that matter to me, and not going to sit here and lie. Third down is one of them, and red zone is the other. We'll be lying to ourselves if that was one of the pillar stats that we've not been successful on. Now we have to get better at.
100%.
And that in a game like this, you need to be good at. But again, I just have maybe this calm confidence that will happen because McCarthy's history in the red zone, he's been a top 10 guy play caller in the red zone. And obviously, ever since Dak has been here, the Cowboys have been essentially a good red zone team. So I think that'll get figured out. We're just in a bit of an identity crisis, which we've cautioned we've cautioned fans that, hey, there might be some growing pains within the offense. Not going to lie, though. I thought it was going to be between the 20s. I had it backwards. I thought, once we get down,
I thought we would
fine.
move the ball slow and be more of a. I thought we would be more of a defensive team that's like, moving the ball old school and smash mouth. And no, we've been getting the ball down there pretty well. Like, I like what I see in this offense. But moving beyond it is like, again, I say it, and I'll keep saying it. We've had so many opportunities down there.
More than anybody in the league.
Yes, you have to talk about that. Like, the reason you're talking about the red zone woes is because we're there more than anyone else, like egregiously more than any other team. We've had long sustained drives. Time of possession is ridiculous. So, and then like I said before, I can count them. Shoemaker, that's a drop. The touchdown to CD was on the 20. To me, that's the red zone. That's a red zone touchdown to me. But you don't Inch more is a red zone touchdown. But oh well. But that CD score, then those scores in the first game, although it was the running back and not Dak, these are scoring drives where we're getting the ball in there in the red zone. So, and then the drops that we talked about, we had 3 in the Arizona game that weren't drops. It was just, 3 fade routes that we threw. One where Cooks just needed an extra inch to get his foot in. One where Cooks ran across the middle of the field and we didn't get that rub route we wanted. Like, it's a lot of stuff going on in the red zone that you have to tune into. But I don't see a problem as much, even though you're right, it's a pillar stat. But when I say pillar stat, yes, we got to shore it up. But I don't see that we don't have the tools on film to shore it up. That's what I mean.
We got it all we got everything is there.
I know you got some. Go ahead.
Everything is there to clean it up. Like, it is 100% something that they need to do, but I believe they will. And it slipped my mind what I was about to say. So,
oh, my bad, Brody.
I had something popped up on my phone. What was I about to say here? Identity crisis. I do think there's a combination of execution and play calling. I don't think it's just one thing. Obviously, if you execute on the handoff, you score. If you execute on the throw to Schultz, you score. If you execute on catching the rock, you score. But then you got play calling down there that's weird too. We're going horizontal a lot. We don't need to be going horizontal so much down there. When it comes to play calling, 3rd and 1, it felt like this was going to be a 2-down situation. You run play action. It wasn't really a play action boot, but when you ran that play action, this is where my issue with Chuma Edoga is not physical, it's mental. Chuma Edoga, for whatever reason, double teams Tyler Smith's guy, and he leaves the defensive end running right at Dak, and Dak turns around and is like, oh, shit, and he's right in my face. Like, that's a mental breakdown you can't have on 3rd and 1, but guess what? Don't put your quarterback or your team in that situation. Run the rock. If you don't get it, 4th and 1, let's go. So I think it's a combination of execution, a combination of play calling, but it ain't like it's some egregious things. Okay, we can't run horizontal. Let's try running downhill. You get it to Luke Kuechly. I don't know why I call him Luke Lipke.
Because his name sounds similar.
Luke Kuechly. You get it.
When I said Kuechly earlier,
Lipke, yeah. Downhill touchdown, right? And everything's executed. You get the blocks. There's no confusion. The handoffs. You get a touchdown. I think maybe they got a little ahead of themselves with the outside runs because it worked against the Giants. I think 2 of the 3 touchdowns, if not all 3 of them, were designed to go to the edge. Tony Pollard cut one up, scored. Cut 2, actually had 2 outside touchdowns, and then Turpin scored. And so we started to use that a little bit more, the horizontal game. I think that only works is if you're going to ask Dak Prescott to pull the ball sometimes and run and use his feet. But against Arizona, they play that umbrella coverage. You can't cut the field in half as much as we did. I'm not a fan of that. Akoye. I don't like it in the red zone. I don't like cutting the field in half, especially when teams are adjusting. So if you looked at what the Patriots did, if you looked at what the Cardinals did, they just say, okay, we're going to play zone. We're just going to drop back, and you're going to send, 2 offensive guys into our 5 guys on this side as we cut it off. That's just not going to work. So just I think things will get cleaned up down there. I'm really not overly pressed about it in week 5, I should say. We have this conversation in week 15. That's a whole different discussion. But we got a long way to go between then. And if that's the one thing to clean up, I'm confident that it will be, because if that gets situated, you're talking about an offense that, and if they do it against this defense, what defense is really stopping them to get there? Serious question.
No, you're not.
You did it against the Jets. You look, as much as Philly's a good defense, but we've diced them up in years past. We'll see them in week 9. But if you move the rock and get down there against this defense,
Philly
and you
defense looking like
scored
trash this year, though. But go ahead.
well,
They secondary don't look good at
we
all.
deal with them in week 9. I'm just saying, this is the litmus test, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Across the board, this is the litmus test. You're not going to get respect even if you win, but as the players have said, this means something to us. So we need to win this game.
It's going to get pushed out to the playoffs after this game, so we can the media, as far as what they're talking about in the regular season, this is a game that shuts them up until the playoffs, or not shuts them up, but changes things.
Shut them up until the Cowboys lose again.
Or that
you know how that go.
But then the conversation that they'll be having if we do make them look bad is, are the 49ers not real as we thought they were? Not the Cowboys are real, but the 49ers must not be that real. They lost to the Cowboys. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of that'll be going on. But I think that this is like you said, this is a big test for not just us, but the 49ers as well. Like this is a game that I don't think you've seen a regular season game with this much electricity in a while, for us anyway.
I love how you keep bringing that up, because it's not brought up because I know they beat the Cowboys, but they act like it's not a test for them either. They act like the Cowboys have been getting blown out against the Niners, and it hasn't come down to the
like
last
the Niners
possession.
is going to show up and just they're the class. They're the class of the NFL.
A Cowboy fan
and they're not worried about us. Yeah.
A Cowboy fan on Twitter said, "Oh, we light work to them. We ain't never been light work to them.
They never beat us easy, even when we was playing like trash.
It's never been light work. It's been a battle, and I feel like it'll be a battle again. It's just a matter of finishing in this game, man."
Yep.
Let me get to a couple super chats doing this, because I forgot to get super chats last time, bro.
Oh no, do you think, man? Let's go.
Man.
Let's get some questions in.
We'll get some. Hashtag. Yeah. What did we say? Just hashtag Akoye, I think it was.
I think so.
Yeah, hashtag Akoye.
Super chat.
Thomas Williams, he dropped 10 and said, "Excellent film breakdown and analysis. Appreciate you, Thomas."
Thanks, Thomas.
Super chat.
Laurel Blizzard dropped 5 and said, "Good morning, fellas. Thanks for the breakdown." No problem, man. No problem.
Super chat.
Glenn dropped 2 and said, "Dak hits these running backs in stride, moving the chains." Yeah, that's what we talked about, Akoye. You made an excellent point talking about last year, where a lot of the times, because the check down was so late in the read, we just standing
flat.
We just standing in the flat. Very good point.
Yeah.
Eddie Logan.
Balls.
Super chat.
Facts. Eddie dropped 2 and said, "What's good, Sky? I'm ready for these 40 whiners." Man, we was ready as soon as that game was over on Sunday. You noticed in the press conference, they was talking about the Niners right away.
Super chat.
Yeah.
Merciful dropped 5 and said, "What's up, little bro? Keep dropping knowledge." That was actually, appreciate you. That was actually for what's the name's show, but appreciate you, man. All right, let's get into these chats and see what we got for our hashtag Akoye for today. Let me see here.
There you go.
As we get this rolling through. By the way, man, can we please hit the like button?
Oh yeah, get these likes up,
because boy,
I can't see how many they gave you, but make sure.
I don't know.
Make sure he got at least 50% of his likes on that joint, man.
Only if you enjoying it, right? Like, I ain't gonna force you to do
it.
it.
If you don't like it, don't watch it.
If
you like it, definitely hit that like button.
But boy, if you're a Cowboy fan, this is where you need to be when we actually breaking this thing down and breaking the rail. So,
man, tell them, man, the Eagles ain't got this. The Browns ain't got this.
Nah.
The Texans ain't got this.
Nah.
No other team. Not too many teams have this level of content.
They probably don't got fans. They probably don't got some of the nutty fans we got too. Like the one boy on here.
That's for sure.
Hey Ty, I gotta call you out one more time, because I went back and I watched the show from last week. I don't know how he's a Cowboy fan. He said after week 5, I'm coming back on here and y'all gonna be annoyed by me, bro. Wow. Because he's picking. They were going to win it. He said we're not winning the game after week 4.
Oh,
and I'm like, yo, are you a Cowboy fan? You basically admitted you're actively rooting for this team to lose so you could come back on here and gloat and be annoying to the rest of Cowboys Nation. I don't get these type of fans, Akoye. I don't understand it.
Well, it's they don't understand the definition of fans. Like, we got Eastside Hero who comes to my channel all the time. Shout out to Eastside Hero. The reason I shout him out is because he thinks he's a Texans fan.
Nah, he a Cowboy fan.
But he's on every live I ever do. He's with us. I'm like, I don't think you don't have time to visit the Texans live chats as much as you're here, because all the Cowboys fans know who you are. Why? Because you frequent the Cowboys. That is what a fan does. You give energy to a team that you are interested in. And if you are overtly interested in the Cowboys, then you're probably a fan. If you're overtly interested in our demise, though, as a fan, then you got to redefine what you are as a fan. Like, that's not a fan. You know what I'm saying?
No,
It's
I feel
like,
you.
I'm a coach. Of course, I'm going to grind up LVE. I'm going to grind up AB. I'm going to grind up Dak. I'm going to grind up anybody that needs to step it up.
Yeah.
But it's because I want them or someone like them to play better in this uniform, not because I want to put this stopgap on them where they're limited and and I tell them they can't get past a certain point. That's not fanning. That's different. That's hate.
Yeah,
That's hate.
Man, so eloquently put. Hashtag Akoye from Mel. He says, "What is our best defensive personnel against this team?"
You know what I liked that we did when we adjusted last week. We come out in these. I call them a 4-3 over. 4-3 over and 3-4 are similar. And if D Law's hand is on the ground, it's 4-3 over. If he's standing up, then it's 3-4. But we'll run that sometimes with Mozzie, Hankins, and Chauncey as our 3 down linemen in the middle of that field. And then Micah, obviously, and D Law, or an array of guys that are out there. Sometimes Micah's in the A gap when they do it. But I like that front against their run, because that front 5, we had those 5 down linemen or those 5 linemen up there. It makes it so that you give every lineman, if they're not chipping with a tight end, every lineman has a one-on-one opportunity, and it helps us in those run fits. But it also leaves enough guys back to be able to successfully stop the pass. So to me, that's my favorite defense that we run, because it gives us the best balance. We're able to stop and shut stuff down up front, but we also can, shut stuff down on the back end. But we have so many guys that have to see the field that aren't effective in every package. You're still going to see an array of packages, because in order to get a guy like we saw last week, they finally figured out a way to get Wanye Thomas back on the field. You're not going to run that same look with a Wanye out there. Or, obviously when you have Wilson out there, he's an extra box force guy. So you're not going to run that while Wilson is out there either. So when they bring in certain guys, they don't do it, or situationally they might not do it. But I think when we run that 5 down lineman look, 4-3 over,
I'm about to
or
say
3-4,
5-2 look, yeah.
Yeah, 5-2. That's exactly 4-3 over, 5-2, or 3-4, however you want to call it. It's similar, and I like that. It helps us stop the run easily.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one because the way they run the ball, they can do some scheme things on the inside, and they obviously do scheme things on the edge, which kind of has me thinking about a big nickel situation where a game like this is a game where like a Bell or a Thomas could be interesting. I know that's going to sound weird, because in the Arizona Cardinal game, you got way too many offensive linemen on your linebackers at the second level, specifically Bell, right? But just watching these dudes, they like to cause traffic on the edge. They love to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey on the outside and let him navigate through the trash. And one of the things that I think Bell is good at, I think Wanye could do this as well. I know Curse and Donald can do it too, but I mean, we're throw all the bodies at him in this, is when you get to that big nickel situation, using, like you said, Dono down in that box, or if Bell's the guy, he's probably going to play more backer. This could be a game where he can make some plays, because he can use that sideline to sideline speed, and he can beat some of those blockers. They don't really have a just world-beating offensive line. And it could be the reason why you see them, do a lot of games inside, but most of it's being run on the outside with who? Trent Williams. They want Trent Williams on the move. They want to get Trent Williams to the second level, because that's the guy they can do it with. They've got some liabilities on that line. So I'm wondering if Big Nickel in this game, and Big Nickel with the variation of guys up front, Jonathan Hankins was such an important piece to the Cowboys shutting down that run game last year. We did a film session on it online here on the show last year.
Thank you for saying it,
and
bro.
now you got him back, number one. This changes things, because he causes accidents at that line of scrimmage, and he pushes guys back with his pushback. And now you got a Mozzie, who is playing, is starting to get in his own, right? Yeah. Osa, we don't talk enough about him still. Osa Digizua is honestly your best all-around defensive tackle. Like, he can get penetration
100%, without a doubt.
In the pass and the run.
Nobody gives him his credit that is due, because he's a guy that's not supposed to be one of the top defensive tackles in the league, but he is, especially at his size, size, speed, and he's that guy that And when I compare them, I'm not comparing their talent, but his ability to play multiple positions. But Tyrone Crawford, when he was here, could play defensive end. You'll see him at 3 tech. You see him sometimes at 1 tech. And you'll see Osa in different situations everywhere on this line of scrimmage. He can play strong side defensive end if you asked him to in spots. So because of his amount of speed and versatility. So I like what I see in Osa, man. And I think that he just looks different as far as his strength. I want to make sure he gets past, mid-season point with that same energy. I think that's been him and Micah, that's been their only knock, in my opinion, since they've both been here is, the season, they play so hard that the season wears on them by the time they get halfway through it. So I want to see them carry that through the entire season. Yeah. And mainly that's a reason why we didn't talk about this though, but I want to see those guys rested when we're blowing guys out. Rest them because we need them deep in the season. Him and Mike.
So that's why I think Big Nickel could be interesting in this one, man. Allowing some of these safeties and linebackers to get sideline to sideline because they're going to test you on those edges because that's where we've been vulnerable, right? Is teams getting to the outside. But this team offensively, what they like to do is, and I wish we did this more, man. Their play actions aren't necessarily play action boots. We do too many damn play action boots. They're play actions, but they're dropping deep into the pocket to allow Brandon Ayuk or George Kittle to run that deep over, and then Purdy is just throwing to a spot, and now it's one-on-one.
They've been doing this with him since last year, but it makes it seem like Purdy is like reading the field and he's dicing stuff.
Look, like Purdy is playing.
They run the same concept. I mean, no, not hating on him. They mitigate the risk of Purdy by making it so that he doesn't have to think so much right now, and then they're slowly expanding the offense based off of what he's
supposed to do with a young guy.
That is exactly what you're supposed to do with a young guy. So it's not hate. It's just, but it is what's happening. You know what I'm saying? That's what's happening. So I get. I don't want them to get cute. I don't want them to get cute. Play discipline. We don't need LVE on the edge and Mike on the interior all these times, and we so damn light, and they see that, and they can run so many different things. Oh, that's how you want to play it. We're gonna run it like this. I think I know it's gonna sound weird. Be basic in your base up front, and then maybe a little bit more complex on the back end, so that Purdy has to sift through things. I'd make him throw in windows. I'd make him, because if it's man, I do think this is where, and again we're going to the other side of the ball. I do think this is where you'll miss having Diggs a little bit here, because if this is man, there's guys like Ayuk. This is why I want to see Brandon. I want to see Bland No, I want to see Bland. I want to see Bland on Ayuk because I think athletically he matches up better. Ayuk is an explosive guy out of his routes, and he's tough. He's a tough get, and I just feel like Bland can stick with him a bit better. But I don't want we've been losing guys in coverage, bro. This single high, I know it's what we do, and I'm gonna be completely honest. I think our defense, the way we're playing it right now, favors into what they want to do. So you better get home. But we need to do a little bit more, I think, too high shell and make Brock Purdy have to sift through things as opposed to dropping back deep. He's single high. Now you got 2 deep overs, right? And he's just waiting to see where your safety going to go, and we're going to throw it to a spot, and you run and get it. That's a tough ask if you're not getting home. Yeah, you got to get home for him. You got to get pressure this game. And we didn't talk about that either, but rushing to a spot is one thing that the Cowboys are pretty damn good at. So, we struggled last season, but that was due to the fact that in the playoffs, again, Micah Parsons was slowing down at the end of the year. I think a lot of those guys were banged up as well, but no excuse. They got to show up and show out so that this secondary is stressed out when you ask them to play man coverage the way we do. Because in cover one, it's almost impossible to stop deep crossers on a regular basis. You're going to stop a few of them. We got the guys to do it because they see it so often. Just like it's hard to run digs and deep crossers against the 49ers because they see it in practice all day too. So it's hard to do, but to ask a team to just flat out 7-on-7 cover that over and over again, that's hard to
get
do.
Home.
You got to get home up front.
Yeah.
But let's get to some more questions. They asked one question. We went off for like 15 minutes.
That's what we do. I got a couple more. Brother L, ask Akoye, most anticipated matchup for offense defense.
So our offense versus their defense are on either side of the ball.
It sounds like he's saying
both sides.
Matchup for both sides. Yeah.
Most interesting matchup for us will be the running back as a unit versus this linebacker core on screen,
Like
because this is going to come down to how well our running backs run routes and play in space and get yak in this game. The same thing for them though. The way they use Debo and Christian, that's their matchup for us. It's like, how do we duplicate what we were able to do in the playoffs? Because people forget that we shut Debo down in the playoffs and Christian McCaffrey in the playoffs. So what has to be done can be done because we've done it. Now we just have to score on the other side of the ball. But that's going to be an interesting matchup on both sides of this ball. It's like, what new ripples do they have to get Debo out in space? How physical are our guys, and can they show it against a guy who's equally as physical on the other side of the ball, and Debo? I think that we've been catching bodies this season, so it'll be interesting to see how well we fare against a guy who's looking for that action in Debo and Christian McCaffrey. So, because those guys will run right to contact. I like that.
Yeah, I kind of gave it away there, but I think my most anticipated matchup would be Ayuk and Bland. I think Ayuk is their best wide receiver. Debo, we did a good job on Debo and McCaffrey last year. I mean, it's a new year, but I feel like they're going to try to get Ayuk going in this one, and maybe Debo going in a different way. I think they'll look at how Rondale Moore was used against us, backfield, running a little bit. But that's my biggest one. Don asks, has Aubrey earned your trust? And then he says, end of game trust. And we haven't really seen him in the game, but
yeah, he had. It's just like saying, has Dak earned my trust in the red zone? It's all potential based. Based off of what I've seen Aubrey do, he has a hell of a leg. That's starting with something. And I think kickers are a lot like beginners' luck in betting. You know what I mean? When they're early and they're fresh and they're young and they haven't gotten a lot of mental wear and tear and they haven't broken down yet, like Bailey did with us, they're pretty good early. When a kicker starts to waver, they go downhill pretty fast after that. And I think right now, as long as he's sustaining his range and his accuracy, and we're not putting him in situations where we're constantly asking him to win games for us, I think I can trust him more than I was trusting Mayhar last year. I definitely could say that I trust him more than Mayar, but
Myra was cool during the regular season. It was that
once they go bad, man. Like, that's just how kickers have always been. Like, I don't know if it's injury based or they got a certain amount of kicks in that groin, but once they go bad, it's a wrap.
The Maher situation,
like a bad transmission.
Maher situation is basically the epitome of our team, right? Where regular season. Cool. Then we get to the postseason. I just need you to get it done. And Maher got to the postseason, missed 6 in a row.
The pressure.
Or whatever it was. And it was just,
or he was betting games, one or the other.
That was crazy.
Either he made a hell of a lot of money from Vegas, or the pressure got to him.
I trust Aubrey now, but it ain't gonna matter until we get to the postseason, because I think we're scorned from old boy, right, from Maher. But I trust Aubrey right now. He hasn't had a chance to kick a game winner. I think that'll help us even more. 49er fan says, and I'll start this one off. Can your linebackers not bite on Kyle Shanahan's play action? Let me tell you something. I'm not worried about necessarily the play action. Everybody does play action. That you're going to bite sometimes. Sometimes you're not. It's the horizontal eye candy is where we get tripped up, and a lot of teams do. That's why you see teams use it. Right? Is that it's hard to deal with.
Too many keys.
It's one of those things from college that has come to the pros that you just haven't caught up yet. Teams haven't caught up to it yet. You just got to make sure either you guessed right or you stay disciplined. So it's not the play action that worries me. It's the eye candy horizontally, because I love how they use check. Y'all know how I feel about it. I think we should do that with Lipke. He'll start. I've seen one time studying. This is not a joke, bro. I was studying them last year, and use check, I think, moved like 7 times before the snap. That's absurd.
Yeah.
Out wide, in line, backfield, to the left, back to the backfield, to the right, back to the backfield in one play.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing you know, they snap it, right? And you got the tight end flying left, use check going right. So it's not really necessarily the play action, the traditional play action. It's the eye candy horizontally that the Cowboys are going to have to be prepared for and stay disciplined.
Right. And we got to imagine what that does mentally to a player. Like, you have keys that you have to key in on and then you have adjustments based off of alignment. When you have a guy moving around that much, each time he moves, there's a difference in your defense, and you have to adjust to it. And then post snap, they do the same with the misdirections and the horizontal stuff, like you said. So that's a lot to think about. And the only way a player can play fast is if he knows exactly what he's supposed to be doing. And there is no way you could possibly know exactly what you're supposed to be doing with that much movement pre-snap and post-snap. No way. You got to think. You got to stop and think about what's going on for a second before you can react to that type of stuff, or have a set up a fail safe in your scheme where it's like, if we don't know collectively, this is what we revert to take this type of stuff away. Know your job and do your job type stuff.
Princess says, ask Akoye, will 4 receiver sets help us in the red zone?
I mean, well, no, I don't think so. Unless we're running, like I said, horizontal plays. I think you want tighter sets because you want them to have to respect the line of scrimmage. You don't want light boxes in the red zone. Because if you're trying to pass into that anyway, you're in trouble. So I think you want to force them to load the box and use these they're doing the right things, honestly. They're using their tight ends. They have to catch the ball. They're using their tight ends in the red zone. That's what they're for. They just have to catch the ball.
2 touchdowns down there came from the tight ends.
Yeah, but we also got 2 drops in the red zone by Schoonmaker. We got 2 drops by Hendershot. Got 1 by Fergie. So that's 5 drops in this tight end room, so far right now in the red zone. Those are 5 easy layup touchdowns that they've dropped as well. So they just have to execute and catch the ball. Even on that run where Hendershot had, if he just turned upfield in that first game, touchdown, easy.
Yeah, that's a play they got
touchdown.
from Kellen from last year that they kept. But I'm done with Hendershot in regards to asking him to do something big. I'd rather give those opportunities to other guys.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying when you're like, well, where? When has he done it? It's like some guys practice very well, so obviously they give him those opportunities and those big moments because of practice. And let's not forget that Schultz, when Schultz first started, he was dropping the hell out of some touchdowns and passes too. So you got to just settle in. I remember the Browns game. I think Schultz dropped.
It was the very first game where he filled in for Jarwin, but that was it though.
Dropped. Oh yeah, he got it together.
Year 2 of Hendershot.
Well, Hendershot doesn't get that big of a sample size,
which is all the more reason why you need to take advantage of it. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't have these drops.
Not just drops. In all honesty, he shouldn't be the guy. But it's for one reason only. Neither should Schoonmaker. It's because
I'm cool with Schoonmaker being tight end too because he's a better blocker.
I mean, yeah, he could be the guy, but the target shouldn't be either one of those guys.
No. Yeah, I agree with that.
Fergie is doing so well. We look like we're trying to find who the tight end is. We know who he is.
I said that. I said Ferguson should be treated like Jason Witten. Yeah. You remember when we had Jason Witten? They didn't care about no tight end too. Yeah. Jason Witten played 98% of the damn time, and the tight end two was a blocker. What are we doing here? Jason or Jake Ferguson is your guy. Let's rock with Jake Ferguson. He's your contested catch guy, but neither here nor there. Marcus Hardison said, "Do we need to see more, or do we see more rub routes and mesh concepts to get Cooks and other wide receivers favorable matchups throughout the game?" We touched on this in our film breakdown, but we expect to see more of that, Akoye.
Yep, exactly. You need to see more of it because getting those guys that speed out in space and running that quick stuff is what hurts this team too. Hurts the 49ers. When you run quick to the edges, they don't have time to get into the same things that bother the Jets, bother the 49ers. Running quick off the edge bothers them. Throwing quick, shallow bothers them, whether it's screen pass, drag routes, slant routes, stuff like that gets to them because they like to play deep and get into those deep sets. So, yeah, we need a lot of rub routes. But if they're running a lot of zone, you may not have that much success with rubs. It's when you catch a team that's playing a lot of man where those rubs will start being a lot more impactful. And against zone, it helps, but, you want a window. You want to sit down in a window versus zone, whereas man, you want to drag that man to another guy to rub him. So, pause. That sounds crazy, doesn't it?
Super L.
That's a super L. Like, no. That's like, I need like a pause. Like,
we need to invite Mason them on real quick.
Yeah, like, whoa. We gotta relax.
I'm gonna go ahead and move forward before they get you up in
yeah, they gonna get me. I say you want to drag the men to it so they can rub 'em. What's up, though?
Ew, I don't even know what to say anymore about that.
Oh, man. That sounds crazy.
But from a football standpoint, what I love about this scheme is if you do have that drag concept, I do think there is an outlet behind it. So if they are running zone, Dak can easily see that and hit the deep route or whatever.
Mhm.
But next question.
Next
I
question.
know they frying your ass. Forever
they say,
DC.
wild boy.
Since the middle of our defense is strong against the run, what do the Cowboys need to do outside to stop Christian McCaffrey and Debo? Whatever the hell they did last year. Christian McCaffrey averaged 3.5 yards and Debo averaged 2.8. He had 11 yards. Debo Samuels did. As a team, you held him to 3.5 yards per carry, and the only reason why it's that high is because Kyle Juszczyk had an 8-yard run. Well, so you did a fantastic job against them last year.
It's a misconception that we just can't stop edge running. That's not the truth. We have trouble on the edges when there's a running quarterback along with a team that runs edges because you have a two-way go in the RPO, right? So that is what gives us the most problems versus, guys or teams that like to run on the edge. But the running back itself, teams that traditionally just use the running back to get there, that's not where we have the most trouble. The most rushing yards that we've given up when you look at the Chicago game last year is because Justin Fields was on the field. That's the problem. Arizona is because of Dobbs. So running quarterbacks are what gives this team trouble on the edges. It's not the running backs. So the reason we were able to stop Christian McCaffrey is because Purdy don't run.
Yeah, I think we have the scheme and the players to be able to do it. They just have to, again, remain disciplined. And I think DQ figured it out. The only time, I shouldn't say the only time, he got out coached for like a quarter and a half in 2021. And then that tightened up in the playoffs. I'm talking about against the Niners. They were killing us on the outside, right? The edges were a problem because that was a problem for the Cowboys all year. And that was Garoppolo.
We fixed that last year.
That was Garoppolo. Yeah. And then, like you said, last year, I think they just remained disciplined and they were able to utilize the players. And mind you, this is a game where you had, who was it? Barr was your guy opposite of LVE. Now you're going to have Clark, who has more speed to get to the outside. Bell, more speed. Yeah. Right? So it's a little different than it's going to be.
Those linebackers got to play. They got to come with their hard hats ready. LV, everybody keep telling me how LV is like now reawakened. So let's see it. This will be a test to find out. We'll find out this week if we got Ricky LVE back, like everybody's saying.
That ain't no Ricky LVE. Look, we got to be able to sift through that trash, man. The Niners are going to send 4 guys out there to block, and the Cowboys have to be able to sift through that trash. All right, I think we got a good amount of Akoye questions in. Last week we only did 2.
Yeah.
And I think we got a few more super chats that were coming through as we were talking. So I'm going to get to them and we're going to wrap it up, Akoye.
Cool, man.
Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. We did Thomas. IT man, it's cool, bro. He yesterday on Vaja's show.
Super chat.
He dropped 2 and said, "My bad, Sky, for interrupting you yesterday." No. We leaned into the bit. That was fun, man. That was fun. Freddie dropped 5.
Super chat.
He said Randy Gregory just got cut. That sucks for Randy Gregory, man. Hope he lands on his feet. I'm a fan of Randy. But yeah.
Super chat.
Dwayne Brown dropped 10 and said, "Great show and interview. Go Cowboys." Damn. Hey, let me tell you something right now. Akoye the fam, I ain't interviewing him.
We just here.
Shouts out to DB. That's my guy. But yeah, this is every week, every Wednesday, barring schedule. We got Akoye Wednesdays where we break down the film and we on it. So make sure y'all tune into this. And if you want to go see, him break this down even more or just things in general, Akoye, let them know where to find you, bro.
Akoye Media on YouTube. You can find all my content there. You use that same name though anywhere though, any social media outlet you're gonna find me, man. But for football and analysis and breakdowns, appreciate the shout out and the nod. Definitely follow me on YouTube though. It's there for it, man. It's there for it. But Randy Gregory shouldn't have shat on us before he left, man. That's on him. Yeah. We would have welcomed you back with open arms had you not done all the shit you did when you left, man.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be a thing. This is a deep room. This is such a deep room, man, that there's just no need for that, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. With that said, Cowboys Nation, make sure y'all tune in later today. It'll be on Voch Lombardi live show about, we do about 3:15. We'll be breaking down this matchup even more in depth. Tomorrow we'll come back and I'll be breaking down more of the 49ers offense against the Cowboys defense. I mean, and the reason why I wanted to start off with this one, Akoye, was because the Cowboys defense, Cowboys offense, because that defense, that's really where the game has been lost. It wasn't the other side of the ball. I didn't get it.
Defense showed up.
Defense is fine. I get it's a new year. They're playing at a high level. They were playing at a high level last year when we went to Santa Clara. But I feel very confident the Cowboys defense would do enough to give you a shot to win the game on the other side of the ball. But nonetheless, we always break it down. So we'll be back tomorrow breaking it down like D-Generation next. So make sure y'all come through. I'm going to go ahead and press this damn button now.
Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button.
Somebody said Randy's washed. Hey, I ain't been watching it.
Yeah, I haven't watched him either.
I don't know what he's doing over there, bro. But we good. We got enough young bulls on that side of the ball at that position where we straight, in my opinion.
Yep.
Somebody said 3:45. Nah, we be on time. Make sure y'all come through 3:15. 3:15.
I'll be watching Sky from the Sky today.
Yeah, that's true. Appreciate you, bro. Hey, safe travels down there too, man.
Oh, I'm gonna need it, man. Tijuana is no fun place. Nah. When they start telling you, you know what the instructions were?
What's that?
Hey, don't go past the taco stand. Last time I was there, like, don't go past the taco stand.
Hell no.
I said next to the hotel. And then guess what was outside when I went outside the hotel?
Who?
Taco stands on every corner. Like, which taco stand? The fuck kind of instructions is this? Don't go past what?
Don't
taco
drink
stand?
the water.
Like,
you leave that cartel alone.
Ain't nowhere to go.